Every year, under the glow of the full moon, the village honored Nyasaye, the lake goddess, in a ceremony that called upon the blessings of the ancestors. It was a night marked by rhythmic drumming, the smell of incense wafting through the air, and dancers in flowing robes moving gracefully along the water's edge. Akello, celebrated for her beauty and grace, was chosen to lead the dance in honor of the goddess. Dressed in intricately woven robes adorned with beads that glinted in the moonlight, she moved with elegance, her feet tapping softly on the shore. She spun and leaped, her figure reflected in the silvery surface of the lake. In the crowd, Omondi's eyes locked onto Akello's, his heart pounding with a feeling he could not explain. It was as if she were calling to him, not with words but with the very essence of her being. For a brief moment, the music faded, the crowd became a blur, and the only thing that mattered was the silent connection they shared. It was forbidden, dangerous even, but Omondi knew from that moment on, he was bound to her. Their love blossomed in secret meetings by the lake, shielded by reeds and watched over by the moon. Away from the prying eyes of their families, they laughed, shared their dreams, and whispered promises. Omondi would bring her small tokens from his journeys, shells, stones, or delicate pieces of carved wood, while Akello shared her hopes of a life beyond the feuding and curses. They dreamed of leaving the village, escaping the chains of tradition, and forging a life together in a distant land where they could be free. But the more their love deepened, the more the village began to notice. Akello's cousin, Nyarai, a young woman with her own unspoken feelings for Omondi, had grown envious of the attention Akello commanded. Nyarai began spreading rumors of Akello's meetings with Omondi, warning that their forbidden love would invoke the wrath of the ancestors. "The spirits of the lake see all," she would whisper ominously, planting seeds of suspicion in the minds of the villagers. When the rumors reached Omondi's father, the elder confronted him with an iron-willed warning. He told Omondi the story of a curse placed upon their families by ancestors who forbade unions across their bloodlines, claiming such a union would bring calamity upon the village. The elder's voice shook with anger and fear, reminding Omondi that tradition was not something to be broken for fleeting romance. Despite the pressure, Omondi's love for Akello could not be quelled. He returned to her, meeting in the dead of night, promising that no curse, no tradition could keep them apart. But they both sensed the impending storm. Akello, fearing for Omondi's safety, begged him to honor his family's wishes. In that moment, they were torn between a love that felt as ancient as the lake itself and the weight of generations pressing down on them. One fateful evening, Nyarai followed Akello and Omondi to their meeting place, catching them in a tender embrace by the moonlit shore. Furious, she rushed back to the village, her voice filled with venom as she exposed them to the elders, painting their love as a dishonor to the village and a curse upon their families. The village was horrified. Whispers of betrayal and curse spread like wildfire, and the elders quickly gathered, demanding judgment. Akello and Omondi were dragged into the village square, their faces pale with fear. Under the scornful eyes of their families, they were condemned publicly, the elders declaring them outcasts. Omondi stood beside Akello, his face set in defiance as he held her hand. But her father, driven by shame and fury, cast her out of their family, proclaiming her a daughter of the cursed. Akello's mother wept quietly, powerless to protect her daughter from the wrath of tradition. Now cast aside, Akello struggled to survive on the outskirts of the village. Omondi, forbidden from seeing her, would sneak away in the early hours to bring her food and blankets, hoping to keep her safe until they could escape. But as the days passed, her health deteriorated. She grew weaker, the sparkle in her eyes fading, and Omondi, unable to bear her suffering, vowed to take her away. One final dawn, as she lay weakened by the lake, Akello whispered her love to Omondi, her voice fragile yet filled with warmth. She forgave everyone, her family, the village, even the ancestors who had bound them by ancient curses. She smiled, then her eyes closed peacefully, her spirit slipping away into the morning light, leaving Omondi cradling her lifeless form by the water. When the village learned of Akello's death, a wave of fear swept over them. Elders whispered that her spirit would haunt the lake, unleashing misfortune upon them all. To appease the ancestors, they held a ritual, offering prayers, libations, and sacrifices by the lake's edge, begging for forgiveness. Yet in their hearts, they knew that the injustice done to Akello could not be so easily washed away. Omondi, broken by grief, fled the village, disappearing into the wilderness. For months he wandered aimlessly, his spirit as shattered as his heart. In a distant village, he met an elderly healer who recognized his sorrow. She took him under her wing, teaching him the ways of forgiveness and the healing power of redemption. Through her, Omondi learned that to find peace, he would need to heal not only himself, but the wounds of his entire village. With a heavy heart, Omondi returned to the village, a shadow of the young man he once was. He sought out both families, pleading for reconciliation in Akello's memory. His grief and conviction softened their hardened hearts, and the families agreed to a reconciliation ceremony by the lake to finally put Akello's spirit to rest. Villagers gathered under the fading light of the evening, laying flowers and symbols of peace on the lake shore. Together, they honored Akello's memory and prayed for forgiveness. Omondi stood at the water's edge, his eyes filled with sorrow and gratitude as he felt her presence in the soft breeze that swept over the lake, as though her spirit were finally at peace. Years later, Omondi, now a revered elder, would gather the village children by the lake, telling them the tale of Akello, the curse, and the power of forgiveness. He would remind them of the strength required to love and the courage needed to heal. As he spoke, the children would listen in awe, and a gentle breeze would stir the water, as if Akello's spirit still lingered, watching over the lake she loved, forever a part of the land and its people. In the stillness of the lake's reflection, her story endured, an eternal reminder that love, though fragile, has the power to bridge even the oldest of wounds. This beautiful and tragic tale carries a deep moral lesson about the enduring power of love, forgiveness, and the courage to heal beyond the bounds of tradition. The love between Akello and Omondi, though forbidden, reveals how true connections transcend cultural boundaries and generations. However, it also highlights the cost of upholding rigid traditions over compassion, leading to loss and suffering. Ultimately, Omondi's journey teaches that forgiveness and healing are transformative. By returning to the village, he showed that true strength lies in mending wounds, bridging divisions, and honoring love and memory. His actions helped heal the community and taught them that peace can only flourish when tradition is balanced with empathy. The story reminds us that love, when pure, is a source of profound strength, and that healing past injustices requires courage, humility, and a willingness to forgive. Thank you for watching this story. Let me know what you have learned. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with your family and friends. See you in the next video.